However, new information has since emerged. MMA outlet MMA Mania shared the following update on X. I have received information from someone in Conor's outside circle that his injury is confirmed to be lateral meniscus tear, not ACL tear like everyone suspected. This is 100% confirmed via MRI and will be posted in a statement soon. A lateral meniscus tear affects the C-shaped cartilage pad on the outer edge of the knee joint. It commonly occurs from sudden twisting motions while the foot is planted and causes outer knee pain, swelling, and a sensation of the knee clicking, catching, or giving out. Recovery time depends on the severity of the injury and the treatment required. A partial meniscectomy can take around 4 to 6 weeks to recover from, while a meniscus repair can require 4 to 6 months. Non-surgical treatment may resolve symptoms within 4 to 8 weeks. If McGregor requires surgery, he could be sidelined for at least several months. Combined with rehabilitation and another full training camp, it could potentially be a year or more before we see him back inside the octagon. It looks like we may finally have more information about what happened to Conor McGregor's injured knee at UFC 329. Following
UFC
the event, Dana White revealed
on his
during the
YouTube
post-fight
channel,
press conference
DC
that
urged
doctors
fans
told
to
him
stop
McGregor had
criticizing
likely
McGregor's
suffered a
dangerous
torn ACL.
opening kick,
I mean,
arguing that a successful attempt would have brought praise.
War,
we need to be careful when we judge. Because
was capable of as far as cardio
times where
whatever else after a 5-year layoff and
crazy things to start fights, and they've worked.
We're assuming blown ACL.
And we praise the
doctor, but that's what I figured when I saw it. Doctors think the same thing.
Meanwhile, Daniel Cormier defended Conor McGregor.
I remember Fabricio Verdum just run across the octagon and super kick and Travis Brown like he was on the game Double Dragon. Clearly, George Masvidal did it to Ben Askren, and we all praised him for that. I think we need to be careful when we have a big opinion on something that happens, because sure, everybody's mad. It went sideways, but had Conor landed that, everybody would praise.
Cormier also shared his honest thoughts on McGregor's future in the UFC, saying it would be difficult for fans to fully buy into another comeback after yet another disappointing outcome in one of his fights.
Ask me truthfully, I am more likely to tell you that it's not going to happen than it will happen. He's very unique, and I think the whole week showed that. He's the biggest star that we have, and the whole week showed that. I just wonder if he even does try to come back once again. Do people even buy into it again and say they want to see Conor McGregor go at it one more time?
Go ahead.
It really sucks because the card itself.
Max Holloway has sent a message to Conor McGregor following their disappointing fight at UFC 329. Taking to X, Holloway wrote, "Not the outcome we wanted, but God's plan is always the right one. Thank you, Conor, for the fight. Took a lot to make that walk after these past few years. Sending prayers for a speedy recovery. Shout out to my family, team, friends, and blessed expressors for their support. What a life we live. See you at the next one." Islam Makhachev's coach Javier Mendez feels for Conor McGregor after his disappointing loss at UFC 329. In an interview with Submission Radio, Mendez praised McGregor as a great warrior and showed respect for his decision to return to MMA after a 5-year layoff. Mendez admitted that he hasn't always agreed with McGregor's actions and doesn't always like him as a person, but said he genuinely feels sorry for him after suffering such a difficult defeat.
To me, it's like to have a warrior like him train as hard as he did after a 5-year layoff and come back, and to have something like that happen, your heart has to go out to the guy. Look, I may not like him as a person at times, but I have to respect what a great warrior he is. And to see him go out that way is not the way I would want anyone to go out. You'd want them to go out with, doing what they came out there to do, perform. Either the other man was the better man or you were the better man, but he beat himself on that one. And that's the one that I feel for him, because that's not something that I would want for anybody, and he deserved to either become victorious or lose to Max, but that's the way it needed to go. But, you got to give all the credit due to Max. willing to step aside and go, look, man, the guy's injured, you know, pay attention to his injury. I don't want, you know, he could have easily capitalized on that. He didn't. So to do that, what Max did, you got to give your hats off to that guy. What a warrior he was by acknowledging that he wants a fair fight and he knows it wasn't a fair fight. So I respected that from Max.
O'Malley is stunned that Conor McGregor's UFC return ended before it ever truly began. Discussing the situation on his YouTube channel, O'Malley called it the most disappointing moment in combat sports history and admitted that he would have rather seen McGregor lose than suffer an ending like that.
I mean, this has got to be the most, 100%, this is the most disappointing moment in combat sports history. The Conor McGregor made the walk, but he didn't make the walk out. I feel like I'm in shock. I'm so sad right now. I was gonna try to black out. I was gonna just chug proper. I was trying to get faded on the pot. As much as I wanted Conor to win, I would rather seen him lose. Because he's getting, dude, talk about battling demons. Conor battles demons. He came out, he says it, he battles demons. This is gonna be harder to battle. Maybe, I don't know, it's hard to quantify, but then if he would have went out there and lost like a close fight, or even getting finished later in the fight, maybe it's like he at least got to go out there and show that what he did, show off the work he's put in. Maybe looks really good, cracks Max. Max comes back. Max, one of the GOATs. He's been active, and Max gets the job done. But Conor didn't get to show anything, zero. And now sold biggest gate, beat the Sphere, biggest gate of all time, sold out Las Vegas in just 30 seconds, if that. Chat, was it too good to be true? Did we all get duped? We all thought it's happening. Everyone said, I'm not going to believe it until he's in there. And it still didn't happen, and he was in there. I don't even know what to believe right now. For Conor to come back after 5 years, shattered his shin, it takes a serious set of Irish cojones to be able to do that, come back, make that walk again. I'm sure he had a great camp. God, that sucks. I don't even know. I'm trying to find ways to show love to my brother. What?
Israel Adesanya believes there was a reason why Conor McGregor kept his UFC 329 preparation behind closed doors. In a new video uploaded to his YouTube channel, Izzy shared his live reaction to the disappointing outcome of the McGregor vs. Holloway fight. When McGregor went down with the injury, Adesanya was seen shouting at his TV, urging Holloway not to show McGregor any mercy.
Wow. The smoke treatment, all right. Is that poisonous gas? Something special when McGregor fights, though. This week didn't feel like a McGregor fight week, even though it still was. But when he fights, it's good for the game. What? Oh! Oh, what the f? Nah, it was his left when he broke, but I don't know what the f that was. Nah, this is bad. Yeah, that's bad. What the f? Hit him. Yeah, hit him. No mercy. What the f? Let him up, Max. Go, Max. Yeah. Don't. Oh, whoa. That's us, though.
We're gonna get blown on that first kick.
Yeah. I hit him. Because he kept everything secret this camp. There was a reason why. It's him. Oh, no. Yeah, the way he landed. Yeah. Yeah. That's 1-1, so they can do one more if they want.
Machine Gun Kelly has gone on a wild rant aimed at Conor McGregor following his loss at UFC 329. Back in 2021, McGregor and Machine Gun Kelly clashed at a VMA award ceremony, which sparked the beginning of their long feud. During the lead-up to his return, McGregor revealed what MGK said to spark their scuffle, claiming that he attempted to kick him while he was down fresh off his leg break.
That's what happened to me and this Machine Gun Kelly guy that time. Not to say they're even the same, but just as a comparison. And then he says, we don't f with you. He says, you don't f with me? You had to have been ringside at the fight 2 days ago. and he's lucky he didn't get his face broke badly there. You don't, if you're ringside and you're afforded that opportunity.
Now, following McGregor's defeat, MGK took to social media and posted a video talking crazy about him.
I'm aware I did a post yesterday, and I should probably apologize for absolutely nothing, homie. F this dude. That's how beef works. We don't like each other. Everyone's saying, oh, you commented on his age. He's only 1 year older than you about his knees. Hey, guess what? We don't age the same. My knees are awesome. Oh, you wouldn't say it to his face? I already did. That's why a picture exists of this little leprechaun punching up and missing me and me not flinching. Where the f*** is the rest of the footage where we toss this little guy like a piece of dirty drawers across the red carpet? That's why all the footage starts with him far away. Buddy, you look like a drunk, ugly extra in a Sherlock Holmes movie. What in the 1934 am I looking at? Fix your face. Holy sh**. Oh, that's me. Why are you kicking him while he's down? Dude, this guy when he's down, up, sideways, asleep, while I'm peeing. Sorry. What in the f***, Liddell, happened to the landing strip on your head? Worst 10 seconds I've ever seen. Thank you for the walkout being longer than the fight. You're wasting everyone's time. It's pissing me.
UFC welterweight contender Carlos Prates also had some harsh words for Conor McGregor following UFC 329. A few months ago, there was speculation about a potential fight between McGregor and Prates, a surprising matchup that would have been an extremely difficult test for McGregor's comeback. Now, after McGregor's loss to Max Holloway, Prates took to social media to send the following message to the former two-division champion. If I fight against you, I would hurt you bad, bro. I already don't accept a fight against me, McChicken, and have your legacy already. Now it's time of new generation and never cut your hair like this again.
Justin Gaethje's manager, Ali Abdelaziz, recently hinted at the champ's next opponent on X, stating, "The champ's next fight will be against someone he's never fought before." I'm really excited for this matchup. Given the current rankings, this strongly suggests Gaethje will face Arman Tsarukyan. Tsarukyan is ranked number 2, and the two have never met. Gaethje has already battled number 1 ranked Ilia Topuria, number 3 Charles Oliveira, and number 4 Max Holloway, making Tsarukyan the logical choice. Demetrious Johnson, Conor McGregor, and Max Holloway just had the easiest payday of their lives.
69 seconds. That is all it took. Not to win, not to lose, just to end the biggest comeback story in combat sports history, before it even had the chance to begin. For 5 years, the world waited. 5 years since a shattered leg in the trilogy fight with Dustin Poirier. 5 years of rumors, delays, cancelled bouts, and legal battles that threatened to bury the story for good. Every promise of a return came with an asterisk. Every hint of a fight fell apart before it could happen. And through it all, one name kept the entire sport hanging on a single question. Would he ever step back into that cage again? Then came Las Vegas. T-Mobile Arena, packed wall to wall, generating the richest gate in the history of the promotion. Cameras everywhere. A mohawk that echoed the one from his UFC debut more than a decade earlier, as if the man himself was trying to turn back the clock and start the story over. The opponent waiting across the cage was no stranger either. Max Holloway. The same man who once shared the octagon with him back in 2013, in the very earliest days of both of their careers. Back then, it was a decision in the challenger's favor. This time, everyone expected a war. Instead, they got a nightmare. The horn sounded. The crowd rose to its feet. And within the first heartbeat of the fight, he did what he always does. He attacked. A sprint across the canvas. A flying kick, thrown with everything he had, the same aggression that built his legend in the first place. And then, nothing. He hit the ground. Not from a punch. Not from a takedown. His own leg gave out beneath him, buckling on the landing like something inside had simply stopped working. He tried to rise. He slipped again. And again. The challenger, to his credit, wasn't trying to finish him. He was waving toward the referee, almost begging for the fight to be stopped. It was a strange, almost surreal moment. The winner pleading for mercy on behalf of the man he was supposed to be destroying. The referee had seen enough. He stepped in. He called it. And just like that, 69 seconds after it started, the most anticipated fight in years was over. No knockout. No submission. Just a body breaking down in real time, in front of 40,000 people who had paid to see history, and instead witnessed heartbreak. Because here is the twist that makes this story almost impossible to believe. 13 years earlier, against this exact same opponent, His career had also been derailed by a devastating knee injury. Different fight. Different outcome. But somehow, the same leg, the same opponent, the same fate. It was as if the sport itself had written the ending long before the two men ever touched gloves. He walked out of the arena under his own power, but the limp told the real story. Later that night, the broadcast confirmed what almost everyone in the building had already suspected. A blown-out knee. Possibly the same ligament that ended his championship reign all those years ago, back when a young challenger from Hawaii first learned what it felt like to face him. In the hours that followed, the promotion's president stood in front of the cameras and admitted the obvious. 5 years away from this sport is brutal on the body. The best guess from doctors at ringside was a torn ACL. The same injury, the same diagnosis, that so many fighters dread more than any punch or kick they could ever take. But the story didn't end in the cage. It moved online. Because almost immediately, questions started swirling. Was there something wrong before the fight even started? Had the injury already been there, hidden beneath the hype and the walkout and the ceremonial weigh-in just days earlier? He answered those questions himself, directly, refusing to let anyone else control the narrative of his own body breaking down. He described training that same kick, over and over, for months. Warming up with it backstage, just hours before the fight. No pain. No warning signs. Nothing. And then, in an instant, everything changed. He called it one of the darkest moments of his life. Hell, in his own words. His team backed him up completely, insisting there had been no prior injury, no red flags, nothing that could have predicted what was about to happen. And yet, for the man across the cage, there was no celebration. No arms raised in triumph. Instead, there was something rare in this sport. Genuine sympathy from the very man who had just won. He didn't gloat. He didn't taunt. He simply acknowledged what everyone in that arena already understood. This wasn't the ending anyone wanted. Not the fans. Not the promotion. And certainly not the two fighters standing in the middle of that cage, one on his feet, one unable to continue, both robbed of the fight they had waited years to have. So now the story shifts again. Surgery is next. Recovery. Rehabilitation. And somewhere down the line, if the body allows it, a third meeting between these two men, a trilogy neither of them chose, but one that fate seems determined to write anyway. Because this was never just a fight. It was a 5-year wait, a legacy on the line, and a return that the entire combat sports world had been chasing since 2021. And in the end, it was decided not by a punch, not by a takedown, but by 69 merciless seconds and one knee that simply refused to hold. The comeback is on pause. The story, everyone agrees, is far from over. This was supposed to be the biggest comeback the sport had seen in a generation. Instead, it became one of the strangest, most heartbreaking nights in its history. And somehow, buried inside all of it, is a story so strange you couldn't have written it as fiction, because in some ways, it had already happened before. Let's go back to the beginning of the week. All the pieces were in place. T-Mobile Arena, sold out. The lights, the noise, the anticipation of a fighter stepping back into the cage after 5 long years away. 5 years since a horrific leg break against Dustin Poirier ended a trilogy and put his entire career on ice. 5 years of setbacks that had nothing to do with fighting at all. A scheduled bout with Michael Chandler, scrapped after a broken toe in training. A civil court in Ireland finding him liable in a deeply serious case involving a woman named Nikita Hand. A legal cloud that followed him for years and complicated every attempt at a return. Then, an 18-month ban for missing required drug testing check-ins. A ban that was backdated and only expired earlier this year. Through all of it, one common thread remained. The fans never stopped waiting. And finally, the moment arrived. Saturday night. Las Vegas. The comeback everyone had circled on their calendar for years. The opponent was no stranger. This was the second time these two men would share the cage. Back in 2013, in the earliest days of both of their careers, he had won a clear decision. Now, more than a decade later, the roles, the stakes, and the story could not have been more different. The horn sounded. The crowd rose. And then, in an instant, disaster. He came out aggressive, exactly as expected, launching a flying kick to open the fight. But the landing went wrong. Something in his leg simply broke down beneath him. He hit the canvas, not from a strike, not from a takedown, but from his own body giving out. He tried to push through it. He tried to stand, tried to keep fighting through what was clearly excruciating pain. He went down again, and again. 3 times in less than a minute, his leg refused to hold his weight. Finally, he turned to the referee. Not with words, but with a look that said everything. He could not continue. The fight was over. 69 seconds. That's all it took to end 5 years of anticipation. And in the strangest twist of the entire night, it was the winner who seemed the most affected by what had just happened. There was no wild celebration, no chest thumping, no trash talk. Instead, there was something almost tender about his reaction. He spoke about wanting to sit down with the promotion to talk about doing this all over again, about there being too much history, too much hype, for the story to end this way. One more time, he said, for the fans who came out and paid to see it happen the right way. Because make no mistake, nobody in that building wanted this ending. Not the fans who filled every seat. Not the promotion that had built years of storylines around this single night. And certainly not the 2 men standing in that cage, one who had trained his whole camp for a real fight, and got it taken from him in the time it takes to walk to your seat. But the chaos of the evening wasn't limited to the main event. Just before it, in the co-main event, a different kind of statement was being made. A rising British lightweight needed less than a minute of his own to force a stunning submission over a tough French veteran. A reminder that on this particular night, speed and finality were the theme of the entire card, for better and for worse. Still, all anyone could talk about walking out of that arena was the image of a legend crumbling to the canvas in the very first exchange of the biggest fight of his life. 5 years of build-up. 5 years of setbacks, legal battles, cancelled bouts, and questions about whether this moment would ever actually arrive. And when it finally did, it lasted only long enough for the body to say what words never could. That time, and everything that comes with it, is undefeated. Now come the difficult questions. Surgery. Recovery. Whether a career built on chaos and comebacks has one more chapter left to write. And whether the trilogy so many are already talking about will ever actually happen, or whether this was the final page of one of the wildest careers combat sports has ever seen. Either way, one thing is certain. Nobody who watched those 69 seconds will forget them anytime soon. Not because of what happened in the cage, but because of everything it took just to get there, and everything that was lost the moment it all came crashing down. So this nobody expected this. Not after half a decade of build-up. Not after a broken leg, a broken toe, a courtroom battle, and a doping ban that pushed this fight further and further out of reach. Every time it looked like this comeback might finally happen, something got in the way. And when it finally did happen, when the arena was packed and the lights were blazing and the whole world was watching, it lasted barely over a minute. He came out swinging for the fences, the way he always has. A flying kick, thrown with total confidence, the same kind of move that built his entire legend years ago. But this time, the landing betrayed him. His leg gave out from underneath him, and he went down hard. Not from a punch. Not from a takedown. From his own body simply refusing to cooperate. He tried to stand. He couldn't. He went down a second time. Then a third. 3 times in under a minute, his leg buckled beneath him, and the pain on his face told the entire story before a single word was spoken. Across the cage, his opponent didn't celebrate. He didn't taunt. Instead, he looked toward the referee, almost pleading for someone to step in and stop it. And when the referee finally did, the arena didn't erupt in triumph. It fell into stunned silence, then a wave of boos, not directed at either man, but at the sheer unfairness of how the story had ended. Because this wasn't just a loss. This was years of anticipation collapsing in real time. A trilogy that fans had debated for over a decade, reduced to a handful of seconds nobody saw coming. And the man left standing in that cage, the one who actually won, seemed to understand that better than anyone. Rather than basking in victory, he immediately started talking about doing it all over again, about how much history there still was between them, about giving the fans the fight they actually came for. So now, the story shifts. Surgery. Recovery. Questions about age, about durability, about whether a legendary career can survive one more devastating setback. But here's what nobody can argue with. In a single minute, on one of the biggest stages this sport has ever built, an entire era of expectation came crashing down to the canvas, and the whole world watched it happen. Like, subscribe, and comment if you like our effort. Sometimes the difference between glory and disaster isn't skill. It isn't power. It's a single decision made in the first half-second of a fight. And on that Saturday night in Las Vegas, one decision may have cost a legend everything. Let's talk about what actually went wrong. 5 years away from competition is a long time for any athlete. The body changes. Reflexes shift. Timing that once felt automatic has to be rebuilt from scratch. And yet, in the very first exchange of the biggest fight of his comeback, he chose the single riskiest tool in his entire arsenal. A full sprint across the cage, ending in an explosive flying kick. Think about what that move actually demands. It requires every joint, every tendon, every stabilizing muscle in the leg to fire in perfect sequence, under full body weight, at maximum velocity, with zero margin for error. It's a move that looks spectacular when it lands clean. But it is also one of the most unforgiving techniques in all of combat sports because there is no gradual build-up, no chance to adjust mid-motion. Once you commit, your body is completely locked into the outcome. And this is where the mistake becomes so hard to ignore. After 5 years without a single professional bout, after months of camp, but without the live pressure of real competition, he chose to open the fight with the most physically demanding, highest-risk technique available to him. Not a jab. Not a leg kick to test distance. Not a feeling-out process to shake off the ring rust that inevitably comes with half a decade away. Instead, he went for the highlight reel finish in the very first second, before his own body had even adjusted to being back in a real fight. The landing exposed exactly why that gamble was so dangerous. His knee buckled on impact, folding in a way that suggested the joint simply wasn't ready to absorb that kind of force under real fight conditions. Training camp can replicate a lot of things, but it cannot fully replicate the unique pressure, adrenaline, and unpredictability of live competition, especially after such a long layoff. There's also the matter of composure in the moment right after. Instead of recognizing the severity of what had just happened and protecting himself, he tried to continue fighting through it, attempting to plant on a leg that could no longer support him. That instinct is admirable in terms of heart, but tactically, it very likely worsened the injury, turning a bad landing into a fight-ending collapse, repeated 3 separate times in under a minute. Looking at the broader picture, there's a pattern worth noticing. His first ever meeting with this exact opponent, more than a decade earlier, also ended with a serious knee injury. Different fight, different circumstances, but the same vulnerability, the same body part, the same opponent. That kind of repetition raises real questions about whether the risk calculation going into this fight properly accounted for his own history, and whether a more conservative opening approach might have changed everything. None of this erases what he's accomplished across his career. But it does highlight a hard truth in this sport. The biggest mistakes rarely come from a lack of talent. They come from decision-making under pressure, choosing spectacle over caution, aggression over patience, at the exact moment when patience mattered most. Because in the end, one gamble, thrown in the very first second of the biggest fight of his life, was enough to end the night before it ever truly began.